On Naked and Afraid XL, survivalists are tasked with living in South Africa for 40 days and 40 nights without food, water or clothes. Essentially, the only things they have with them are their skills. By episode 3, there was one survivalist Wood was ready to call it quits. Duck left the game early after he endured extreme weather and felt guilty for leaving his family behind. Part of what played into Duck's psyche was the weather. There had been a drought before the cast got there, which was then followed by extreme rains on day 6 of filming. "We were in a very desolate area," executive producer David H. Story told Newsweek. "The drought in South Africa has been horrendous over the last few years, but those rains were incredibly cold and miserable. Before those rains came, you can see the terrain was desolate and became much greener after it rained. Even though there is a ranger that watches over the crew and the cast during the day to protect against possible animal attack, it's still a very dangerous place," Story said, "especially at night. They are cautioned to make bomas, or enclosures, out of thorn bushes for protection, because they really are by themselves. The cast is alone. The zebra stampede that was shown on TV was real. That scared the heck out of those guys. There were multiple things that affected Duck while out in the wild, but one of the main things was that he was not allowed to hunt crocodiles. Duck is from Louisiana and hunts alligators at home. Since the drought had been so bad in South Africa, authorities told the Naked and Afraid team they were not allowed to hunt the crocodiles. This was devastating news because, in the area where Duck was, the crocodile was one of the biggest food sources, along with warthogs and other game animals. That didn't cause Duck's downward spiral, but it didn't help," Story said about Duck being affected by not being able to kill crocodiles to provide food for his team. "That's what he's good at and what he wanted to do there." Story said that Duck's team had a particularly hard time because their food sources were harder to find and because they were more exposed to the elements in their location. That played to his state of mind. The wind that would come to that camp was vicious. "He's a Louisiana guy, so he does not like the cold," Story said. When Naked and Afraid producers look for a location, they try to find an area that won't go below 55 degrees Fahrenheit. After all, survivalists are naked, so it's already hard to stay warm. See all of the best photos of the week in these slideshows. It was on night 6 when it rained. It was in the high 40s, low 50s and very wet. That's very cold when you're naked. There was great hardware. There's not a lot of fire that can help you when you're cold and it's rainy," he said. So those conditions would wear on anybody. Duck left behind an infant, and he missed his baby. Story mused Duck felt guilty more than he missed the comfort of home. For Duck, "I don't think it was. I would rather be in a warm bed. It was more of a guilt with not being with his family," Story said. That's not to say it was an easy decision for Duck to abandon his teammates. "What's interesting about Duck, I'm not sure how much it comes across on TV, but he was such a devoted teammate. He talked about quitting before the groups merged but didn't. He had a sense of dignity and devotion and care for his team that he would not allow himself to do that." Duck waited until after the teams merged, and then he called it quits. Naked and Afraid XL, star Duck went home on episode 3. Discovery, Naked and Afraid XL, "We were surprised," Story said. "We thought being with others guys would rejuvenate him, but he felt as long as he delivered the rest of his team where they would be taken care of, that spelled the end of him." The cast was sad to see Duck leave, and so was the crew. It hurt show-wise to lose a guy like Duck because his view of the world is so unique and the way he makes analogies and all that is so interesting and funny. It cheered everyone up because he has such a deadpan sense of humor that it kept people going, Story said. It really hurt us to lose him. Story tried to get Duck to stay, but he couldn't convince him. It hurt us as a production and the team. That's always the hardest part of the show when you lose good characters, he said. Now, Duck regrets going home early. He wants to go back out there, but would much rather go to a warm place. Story said, I give the cast credit. There were days that I would show up on set and think okay they will all quit today and they persevered. Don't miss the next episode of Naked and Afraid XL Season 3 when it airs Sunday on Discovery at 10 p.m. ET.